Hey, welcome to episode 6 of the Be Fierce Multisport podcast. I'm your host, Jill Bartholomew, and today we're going to be talking about Run Disney and the recent announcement that the Disneyland races are going to go on pause after 2026. So I'm here with two of my Run Disney buddies. We've known each other for like 2 years now, something like that.
Might be 3. It's been a while.
Might be 3. And probably longer because we've like bumped into each other, and not known each other. We're all like the keep to yourselves until someone tells you that you shouldn't do that kind of people. So I'm here today with Sharon Hamilton and Greg Hassler. And why don't you both kind of introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background?
I'm Sharon Hamilton, and I am a mom, and I live in the DC area. And I started doing Run Disney, probably pretty close to when I met you, Jill, 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. I started in 22, so not that long ago in Run Disney. Yeah.
I've definitely run into some Run Disney people who have done every single event since it started.
I've probably done almost every single event since I started, but that's not since it started.
Same. I think it started like 20 years before either one of us started.
I think that's true. Yeah.
And Greg, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Greg. I live in San Francisco. I'm the West Coast compatriot here. And I've been doing Run Disney regularly since 2019. That's when I started with the Star Wars run, I think. But I did do 2 Run Disneys back in 2011, but wasn't quite.
So you're the veteran amongst us.
I did it long ago. I did a coast to coast. I did the half marathon weekend, and then the Disneyland half in September was my original. I loved it, but for some reason I didn't keep with it until I came back in 19.
Yeah, I did. My first Run Disney race was marathon weekend. I think it was 2019 or 2020. It was also my first half marathon. I did only the half marathon at that weekend. And I had, I was recently divorced and, had gotten into running as like hey, I lost a bunch of weight post-divorce. How do I meet new friends where like our social circles are never going to intersect? And like running was it. And I'm like, hey, it's a cheap sport. It's just our shoes. Yeah, now we all react that way. And see how it spiraled out of control since there. Yeah. And then I was like, I had done some 5Ks. I had done a 10K. And I was like, I wanted to sign up for like the 5 and 10 at Disney World, and they had been sold out. So I was like, all right, I'll do the half marathon. It's only twice the distance. It's runner's math, right? If you can do a 5K, you can do a 10K. If you can do a 10K, you can do a half. You can do a half. And if you can do a full, you can do an Ironman, right? That's how it works. And
no, it doesn't work that way. I promise you, it doesn't work that way.
No,
maybe you can.
Maybe you can.
You're capable of it, whether you want to or not. It's a different story.
Different story.
Yeah, but I had seen that, or someone had mentioned to me somewhere. They're like, "Oh yeah, do you know they do runs at Disney?" So I looked it up, and I'm like, "Oh, you can do runs at Disney." And it started a very expensive but somewhat healthy new addiction. So I'm not aware of anyone having come up with a 9-step program for this one yet, or 12-step, or however many steps.
I think No, there should be. We did. It's Disney sort of got me back into running because I was a runner a long time ago, like in my 20s, and did a bunch of races back then. But then I had gotten out of it after having kids. And then during COVID, I was already a big Disney person, but I was like, oh, I don't run anymore. Like I knew about Run Disney, but I was like, I don't do that anymore. Like I'm not like, why would you get up at 2 a.m. at Disney? But then I started running during COVID because
wait, 2 a.m. So you sleep in?
Yeah, I do. I sleep really late. But occasionally, for the marathon, it was like 1, but 2 usually. But because I started running during COVID, because it was COVID, and what else are you going to do? I started, and that's when I started. That's why I didn't do until 22, because it was.
Yeah, I think
I wasn't running before that.
I think COVID was the biggest boon to the running industry that they've probably had since the invention of the sneaker.
Yeah. And then my first time that I tried to sign up for runDisney, I couldn't get in because I didn't know what I was doing. And so I like didn't prepare at all for registration. I was like, oh, that's today. And so then I started doing my homework, and now the rest is history.
And you've since learned the secret sauce to getting your registration.
And since I have somehow managed to be at all of them.
Right.
That's no easy task. And do you do the 5K at each one?
No.
Oh, okay.
Never the 5K.
Both of you shun the 5Ks, and I'm like, that's one of my favorite ones. It's unfortunate it's not timed, but like starting from the front of A, it's like it's such a fun race.
I actually had way more fun at the 5K with my daughter when we started in D with a bunch of our friends, because we just walked, and so it was like an hour-long walk through Epcot, which was much more fun to me than like a 20-minute sprint through a dark Epcot at 5 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So my son's first 10K, I think you might have met him at his first 10K. We ran from B or C, which was his corral, and he had done a bunch of 5Ks. And I remember distinctly telling him, I'm like, this was the first springtime surprise. And I remember telling him, I'm like, it's only like 2 5Ks back to back. Sorry if I'm squeaky. I lost my voice on Sunday, and it's like slowly coming back, but it's very annoying. I have to talk low to have a voice. My kids are making fun of me. They're like, Mom, your voice has dropped so low. Yeah, I remember telling him, I'm like, it's 2 5Ks back to back. I'm like, that's it. And so, on the 10K, you go out, you start, you go out to the left. And this is when, when we still had to do the long march before the start line. You go out to the, you go down the start chute, you kind of go to the left. And then around, like just before marker 1 or just after marker 1, you make the 180, flip around.
Sharp turn.
And then you go to the bottom of the hill, do the other turn, and then start going up the ramp of disdain that like everybody. Do you know on Strava someone names that Heartbreak Hill? And I'm like, oh, hon, you really need to go to Boston. Yeah, that ramp on Strava is Heartbreak Hill, apparently.
Yeah.
I like it's an on-ramp. It's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
So,
no, it's not.
So the 5K mark is around the top of that ramp. The 5K mark, he was great too. He ran, I don't know, like 26 minutes to get there.
Was he like 12? How old was he then?
He was the minimum age
that you can be to do a 10K. That's 10. You can be 10 to do a 10K.
I'm surprised the first year he had to be a year younger than all the other races. And I don't know if it's because like the temperatures or because like the 5K was at night or something, but I don't know. There are plenty of small children at 5. Anyways.
Yeah.
So like he made it to like 3.2. And then he's like, Mom, my legs hurt. And I'm like, congratulations, son. Like every step you take from here is a step further than you've ever run before. And now you guys saw him at Springtime Surprise. Right now he's finishing like in the top 10 in these races.
Oh, yeah. He is fast. And I don't think I ever heard him complain about his legs hurting. On the 10K. No.
Actually, it's so funny. He hates the 10K. It's his least favorite distance. And his rationale, meanwhile, I'm like, I like the 10K, but
I love 10Ks.
I understand his rationale, right? So his rationale is he's like a 5K, it's a sprint. You go all out and it's manageable. And like, he's like a half marathon, it's an endurance race, right? You have to, it's hard, it's long, you have to manage your effort, blah, blah. He's like a 10K. He's like, I don't know what the heck a 10K is. He's like, it's like some stupid distance in the middle where it's not a sprint, but it's not an endurance race. And I'm like,
I mean, that's not bad logic.
Yeah. It's
like he's not wrong.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Proof of time.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
Yeah. So, yeah. Anyways, but you're. So I think that was the first time you guys met him or at least Sharon, was at his first 10K.
I think so. I think I was at that one that he was at.
You've done all the spring times.
Which was the first one? The first one I did was
Oh man, I don't remember the years. It was the 5K was through Everest, and the theme of the 10-miler, it was the Tower of Terror 10-miler.
No, I didn't do that one.
You didn't do
My first one was the next year. My first one was the Toy Story 10-miler, I think.
Oh, that was the year I ran out on a proctor light.
Yeah, smart.
Just it was like 99% healed. I had the doctor was like go for it.
What could go wrong?
Don't hurt yourself. I was totally not trained for it. But 2 months later, I went and PR'd my marathon. So like it wasn't all bad. All right. So Disneyland. Sharon, did you did Dopey to Dumbo, right? Or you did?
Well, I did Dumbo that year. I didn't do Dumbo
that year,
but I did Dumbo.
Okay.
And Greg,
I did Dopey to Dumbo. Yeah, you did. That's we met at Disney. We met at Disney.
Well, it's funny. We had stood next to each other in corrals before.
Yes,
that's when you guys met.
But
was that Disneyland race?
It was So we had kind of stood next to each other at the races in Florida. And then there we're like, I know you. We stood next to each other last week.
Yep.
And then what I really remember was and maybe it was the bonding point was, Greg, you and I started next to each other in the half marathon. And we finished next to each other in the half marathon. We ran very different races in between.
Yeah, but I would put finished in quotation marks. We limped across the finish line together.
Well, but it wasn't. I mean, it was an hour 48, so it was a respectable.
We did a really good time, but we were both hurting. I think we were glad there wasn't another race.
But it was 70. It was seven start lines in 10 days, 77 miles, and it was, one weekend and then the next weekend with some flying in the middle. And were you on the same flight I was going over there? I don't remember.
I don't think I was. I was on American.
I was on the flight where the radar equipment stopped working. They got I don't know, over Mississippi or something. They turned back and went to Miami for us to get a new flight.
Nope, that was not my flight. So I was not on that.
You would remember.
Yeah.
I would remember.
It was isn't there a closer airport than the one in Florida back that way?
Yeah.
And I remember them getting on the intercom. They're like, we're really sorry, people. And then we get on the ground and they tried to fix it. And they're like, it'll just be another hour. It'll just be, I'm like,
oh my God.
Nothing in the airline industry is another hour.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Eventually, 6 hours later, 8 hours later, they got us a new aircraft.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So we had been expecting to spend the entire day in Disneyland. It was I guess not our first because I had taken the kids earlier, but it was John's first time there, and it was only my second time there. And we were expecting to spend the whole day in Disneyland, and I think we got there right before park closed, just so that my thing on the annual pass didn't get the tick against me because
do you have a Disneyland annual pass?
Yeah, I have a Magic Key.
Oh,
the Magic Key is different. You still have to do park reservations, but if you don't show up,
you get in trouble.
You get in trouble.
Yeah.
If you don't show up 2 or 3 times, then you can't use the Magic Key.
Blacklisted.
Yeah, for a month or something.
Yeah.
And
I have heard that.
I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. Versus Florida, where
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But we still have the reservations, and half the time you can't get the reservation for the park you want, so you have to scan into a different park so that you can then immediately drive over to the park you want to go to.
That hasn't been happened lately.
Oh yeah, it still happens.
It hasn't happened to me in a long time.
Yeah. We just don't go during the peak anymore. But the
maybe it's only during peak because run weekends are never.
The other day was May the 4th.
Yeah. That day it would happen.
APs got blocked out of it.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, there's some lawsuit that these essentially amount to blackout days on passes that don't have blackout days.
Yeah.
So interested to see what happens with that. Wow. All right. So we've all been to Disneyland. We've all been to Florida. What do you think of the upcoming pause.
I mean, it's sad.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about registering for it, and I was traveling. I think I was in Texas for the Ironman Texas during that registration period. So I ended up forgetting about it and not registering. And now I'm like, do I go chase down a charity? Greg, does this sound familiar to you?
It sounds familiar. Except I haven't been chasing very hard.
You've got some time. I'm like,
I got time.
do I go chase down a charity?
Yeah. I mean, you could get one. It wouldn't be that hard.
No,
Yeah.
it really wouldn't. Or do you say, whatever. I got my coast to coast, but they made the coast to coast medal this year so pretty. The one we got was like the fudgy little suitcase thing.
Like license plate.
Yeah. And now it's like, the 2025 one's really cute, right? With wall.
Well, that's why I signed up for the Halloween at Disneyland, was because of that medal.
I'm also signed up for the Halloween, but
not so you'll get that one. You're not going because you have that conflict, but
like a wedding.
Like you have to get married.
You have to get married.
Things interfere.
Well, I mean, Lake Placid and then a wedding and Kona. I'm registered for it. I don't have a hotel. I don't have flights. I could go, I guess. But I have a feeling if I travel anymore that my kids are going to disown me.
If I had to put money on it, I bet you'll be there.
I
just think you will.
Yeah. Only if you.
I did renew my magic key. And so, I need to get some use out of it because like those things are not cheap. Like they're worse than Disney World.
Right. Well, and they have more rules and stuff. This is a little new. I was trying to figure out what to do for the Disneyland race, and long story, but I had to get a ticket for one day for Disneyland because of how I'm doing the travel. Like I have a ticket for a package, but I needed just a one-day ticket.
Oh, okay.
And I got a one-day Disneyland ticket for like $100.
Really?
I mean, it's like on a Wednesday. Wednesday or Thursday.
Like one of the enter after 4 p.m. tickets?
No, it's a whole day ticket for Disneyland for $100. It doesn't have the Genie Plus or whatever, but I didn't really care about that. And so,
I'm like, that
because it's like I was like, that's
deal.
not bad at all.
Yeah, even Disney World prices these days for Magic Kingdoms, don't they start at like $120 now?
At least, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe
for during like off peak. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is like September 5th or so. It's like a Thursday in September, so it's not exactly a peak day, but I was like, that's not bad. Like that's not, Yeah.
It's like the Thursday before Labor Day though. So
Is that Labor Day? Is Labor Day the 7th? I think it's the Thursday after Labor Day. I don't know.
It was the Thursday after. I don't know. It's one of those 2 weekends.
Yeah, it didn't seem too bad.
I don't know that. But, I don't know. I told you guys, we're getting married in Magic Kingdom in August. And that was one of the big questions that everyone that we invited has asked is like, do I need to get a park ticket? I'm like, need is such a strong word. It's like, do you need a park ticket? Not to see the wedding.
Yeah.
But you do need one if you want to stay in the park after.
Yes. Exactly. Wouldn't you want to? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not
came all the way to Florida for a wedding.
Right.
Yeah.
You didn't want to go to Disney.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm not paying for park tickets for everyone.
No.
Because this podcast does not make enough to support that.
$1.50 is not going to spread that far.
No. $1.50 a month is not going to support that.
Yeah, I think that the whole cancellation of Disneyland is Run Disney conspiring to make sure that I never skip a weekend, because I was not going to do Halloween, and then I saw the Coast to Coast medal, and I was like, okay. I talked to Kim, and I was like, okay, well, you're going to do Halloween. So then I just did Halloween. Then I was like, I'm not going to do Marathon weekend. I'm going to do the Disneyland weekend in January instead. But they didn't release the dates, and they just had it TBD. And so I was like, I don't think it's going to happen. So then I signed up for Marathon weekend. Then they released the dates for Disneyland, and I'm like, I'm not going to do Disneyland because that was the whole deal. I'm doing Marathon weekend. I'm going to skip it. Then they're like, we're canceling Disneyland races forever.
Yeah.
So I signed up for Disneyland. I think they're just personally messing with me to be like, you think you're going to skip a weekend?
So are you doing Dumbo now?
No, I am doing Goofy to Dumbo.
So you're doing the half and full?
Yeah. See, I don't do 5Ks. I hate 5Ks.
See, I don't understand. So I'm like, so like, you live a couple hours south of me, right? But we both are like mid-Atlantic. I'm like the north end of mid-Atlantic. You're like the south end.
Yeah.
And, it's a similar climate, right? We get some humidity and we get some heat, but it's minus a couple of weeks in the summer. It's not that bad. And then you go to Florida, which is kind of like the depths of hell.
In August. Yes.
In August.
If you put the depths of hell inside a sauna.
Yeah.
Right.
And lit on
perfect
fire.
For a wedding.
Yeah.
It's perfect for a wedding.
Right. Well, it's funny. We picked the date like very pragmatically. We looked at the race schedule.
Yeah. Well, that's what you got to work around. Yeah.
We looked at the race schedule and the school schedule. And I'm like, okay, there was one weekend where we're like, okay, if we do it on this one weekend, we don't have to mess with race schedules and training. And we don't have to take the kids out of school. And it's far enough from the start of school that it doesn't piss my son off too much. Because, that last week before school, the kids find it to be like sacred.
Yes.
They're like,
they really have to get in their loafing.
Yeah. He's like, oh, I need my Xbox time, Mom. But no. And then I went and bought the wedding dress. And I'm like, it's at Disney. We're getting married literally in front of the castle.
So it's got to be like a big princess dress.
It needs to be a big princess dress. I said to the lady, that was helping me at the fitting, I'm like, it needs to be worthy of, a Magic Kingdom. It needs to be a princess dress, Cinderella dress. So like, without sharing too much, because I know John listens to this, right? But like, I think it's going to be like 1,000 pounds in the August.
What time of day is the wedding?
The ceremony's at 8 a.m.
So it'll be nice. 8 a.m. is nice.
Yeah, so it's an hour before park opens, but the early entry guests will be in the park.
Coming in.
So I'm like, okay, that's going to be interesting. Like I didn't.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that. Now I'm tempted to go down there and get an early entry.
Well, do you want to share? Like I have connections. I could probably get you invited. So back to Run Disney, right?
Yeah.
So, I was expecting that this weekend, because of everything you just said, Sharon, right? Like all the uncertainty and then the announcement, it all came like fast and furious. I was expecting it to sell out like wildfire. And it didn't.
No, it was easy. That was like a super easy registration day.
Yeah, I was listening to, I think it was Rise and Run, rattled off like all the times the other day. And it was like normal, like maybe slightly faster. It was like an hour for Dumbo to sell out. It's like like a half hour for the 5K. The only one that surprised me was yoga.
That's because it's a Muppets theme. People love the Muppets. People love Muppets. That's why.
When does Disney yoga have a theme?
Disneyland.
I don't know.
Oh,
Disneyland,
I thought the last. I don't know. I guess they don't at Disneyland. I've never done it before, but I'm doing it at Disneyland in Halloween.
I just like sign up for the yoga. I love the yoga at Disney. I think although the one this past
the pouring rain, that one looks fun.
Was that Princess?
That was Princess.
Yeah, the one in the rain kind of pushed my limits of like what I'm willing to do for the free purple mat.
Right.
It was purple this year. It was green last year. It was blue the year before.
Yeah.
What's going to be next year? Orange?
Yeah. I have the green one. Nancy gave me hers. But I've never done the yoga before.
It's fun.
Yeah.
So like, you got to get there early. And
you get a good spot.
And at Disney World, like the yoga is like, they've done it enough times, right? It's super well organized. Like it's a madhouse, but it's super well organized. The one at Disneyland, at least when I did it last year, it was none of the above.
I've
heard that they've learned a little bit, because we went to the one in 2024. It was the first race back after like a decade. They flew in the Run Disney people from Florida.
That was chaotic.
And apparently didn't listen to anything they had to say. It was run by Disney Events, not Run Disney. But I thought that the one they did for Halloween last year was actually run by runDisney.
It was better.
Aside from the heat, I heard it was a lot better.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was better in terms of organization and like all of that. Like the logistics were a little bit smoother. Like the security was organized and stuff.
Okay. And I mean,
better.
They can't control the heat too much. Right.
Yeah, the heat was not
bubble
better.
in Burbank is different from the one in
Right.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. But the race is more quaint, I would say, at Disneyland, right? I mean,
it's more like a local race.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the stand right there in front of us, right, with the announcers.
Yeah.
I mean, although we were doing trivia,
we were
doing trivia in the crowd.
I did find that strange.
It was strange.
I like it.
It was quaint.
Although I find it funny. So Carissa, you know, I had no idea who she was before I got into runDisney, right? But now it's like, you know, a runDisney race without her is not the same. And you know, we had, what was it? Was it the half where she wasn't there, or she was late? She had something going on with her family. But now, like, I go to these Ironman events, and she's the announcer at some of them. And I'm like, I can't get away from you.
It's like seeing your teacher at the grocery store. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. You've got like, for me, like, there's two worlds, right? And there's not a lot of overlap between them. I will tell you that, like, runDisney has a reputation, right? And the reputation recently is like it's largely like slower beginner runners. And we all know, like, we all run from the A Corral, and you know, we've seen it, and we've been around a while. We know it's both, right? And every once in a while, like they especially marathon weekend, they do get some of the elite athletes there. But the reputation in the non-running community is that it's kind of a joke, right? So in the Ironman community, when I run across other people who also do runDisney, I'm like, I love you.
Yeah.
Because you know, last year I had put down, you know, we have to put down our you know, I'm on a team, and we put down all the races that we're doing. And all the runDisney ones is like me and one other person, except for marathon weekend. There's a fair number.
A couple people do dopey.
There's a fair number.
Yeah.
And someone who I won't name, you know, was like, "Are you sure you want to admit to doing those?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love them. They're fun. They're what got me into running." And it's like, I started in the F Corral. My first runDisney race, I didn't have proof of time. And like, the whole reason I got a coach in the first place was because I don't want to be in the F Corral anymore.
Yeah.
Unlike you, Sharon, who's been doing it your whole life.
Yeah. But I like that about it. I like that it's not so serious and that it's so accessible to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, but anybody, like, you could be fast and
Although, like, there's like the cliques that have formed. And on the one hand, like, that's what's great, because like they're really big races. Like Marathon Weekend is one of the largest running events in the country. It might be the largest. It's one of the like top.
It's a lot of people.
Like last year, I saw a thing that like last year there was over 100,000 runners at the event in total, or 100,000 people, or whatever. And it had eclipsed New York Marathon for like total number of participants. But it's you know, it's over 4 days, not 1 day. But you know, there's the cliques that form. Like I mean, there's the 5 or 6 of us, right? We've met, we've become friends, and you know, there's others, like there's brands that have you know, popped up around it. Like Crown Athletics, you know, I love their tops. You know, I run in a lot of them. Like, they're cute, especially on Princess Weekend, right? And there's some others that have kind of come and gone. And, you know, how many, you know, well, we're very sparkly on run weekends.
A lot of sparkling.
Right. Like brands
that, a lot of sparkle.
Yeah. Like brands that these things have inspired. But back to your point, Greg, like it does feel like a more local race. Like, that was one of my first like impressions when we did it in 24, was like the 5K. I mean, you could tell that there were some growing pains, right? Like the characters were like the regular characters that are out every day, and they like didn't know how to behave.
They were too slow.
Well, yeah, I was like at the front. I was like at the front of the 5K, and this like normally the people who are at the front of the 5K or 10K or whatever, just pop in, pick, pop out, right? It's like 2 seconds or less.
Don't talk to me, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't acknowledge I'm here. Just smile and like you've got a mask on, so I don't think you're sticking your tongue out at me, whatever.
Right.
Because I won't know it. And they were having like full on character interactions, and was that the first one that had not Merida? There was a new character at one of those. I forget which one.
I know who you're thinking about. Are you?
Yeah.
The one from Encanto?
One from Encanto. Yeah.
I can't think of her name.
Not Maribel.
Maribel.
Thank you.
Maribel. Yeah.
We're all like Disney people, and we're sitting here like, I know what she looks like. What's her name?
Got the glasses on, and she got a doorbell.
Yeah, wasn't that the first one that she was at? She was like,
probably
might have been one of the first ones she was.
And
at,
she was like super chatty. And anyways, I just remember like this one stop, I was like, dude, shut up and take the picture. Like this is not a character interaction. There's not autographs to be signed. And, and that was like my first impression of that was like, huh. And there wasn't a lot of photographers either on that one.
There was not, but I love the 10K at Disneyland.
It's the best.
It's all park.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I think like at Disneyland, 10K is the best one.
It totally is.
The 5K is not spectator friendly like at all because it starts and ends in the park.
Yep.
And they don't allow the spectators at the finish line because it's too cramped. Like,
yeah, that makes sense. I never had a spectator there, but it would make sense that would not be the most spectator friendly.
Yeah, I did, and he was very unhappy.
Yeah.
And he continues to let me know how.
But they let like for the Princess and Marathon weekend at World, they let spectators into Magic Kingdom. So did they not let spectators into the parks?
They let them into the park.
Yeah.
So for the 5K, they let them into California Adventure. But they couldn't go to the finish line area because it finishes like right in that Pixar area.
Yeah, right by the Little Mermaid, kind of.
Right, and it's like really no, it's back where the roller coaster is.
By Pixar Pier.
Yeah,
it was all the way back there. Okay,
it's very narrow there. So for them to like have the finishers and the finisher shoe and the like plastic cheese boxes and so on. Yeah.
Were you there at Halloween this year?
No.
Because I did the 5K at Halloween, and that I wonder if they moved it for that reason. Because the finish line was you went all the way through Pixar Pier around where all those like the swing ride is, and like right in front of the Little Mermaid. You turn left to Grizzly Peak, like that's where the finish was.
Okay, because that area is much larger.
Yeah. I think they had spectators. Maybe they took the note. John made a strongly worded email and they changed it because I think it was better at Disneyland.
John was very vocal about his discontent.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like they maybe fixed it. But I agree the 10K is the best. But I also like the half there, and that people hate it. Like people complain about it so much.
I don't understand why people hate it. I'm like,
so here's my theory. I have a theory. Okay, it's because all of us, I think, are people who like to just run races. Like I run tons of races that are not Disney races. I just like to go racing. And so I think because there is no bubble, the second half of the half marathon in Disneyland is like it just feels like a road race. And you're going past gas stations and neighborhoods and whatever, which I like that. I like running through doing races in different cities. And so it's like you're just running through Anaheim, which I like because I would like to do a race in Anaheim. And I think the Run Disney people that are like really just Run Disney people that are like, I go to Run Disney because I want to run Disney are like, why am I running down a road next to a Wawa?
No, you're exactly right. It's like, I have a feeling that folks who are from California and are used to running or not used to running at Disney World would love it.
Yeah.
But folks and people who like it's their first experience mostly would love it. I'll elaborate on that in a second. But then people who are used to running in Florida at Disney World are like, what the heck?
But even then, like the Half at World, you're going down World Drive for 4 miles,
Well,
and
right.
like, what are you looking at? Like a sign for the contemporary? Like, it's not a nice race.
And well, yeah,
it's not like
it's empty.
Half of the course is on a road.
I mean, I
half
think
of
the
it's on freeway. Yeah, it's on road.
I think the difference is like those roads are open and empty.
Yeah.
And there's, where like Disneyland, those are through the town. And just like you said, we all are used to running road races like wherever. And like in any city, you go through the good areas, you go through the bad areas, not the terrible areas, but even sometimes you do. And it's fine. And, you have spectators most of the time along the way. And that's the one thing that's nice about that is like, it's actually more spectator friendly than Disney World is. It's like I did a thing. I did a thing on YouTube around wine and dines. There's like all these questions like, how do I spectate? It's like, well, actually at Disney World it's kind of hard.
It's stressful.
It is hard. And like the marathon weekend, all these people who are like, my spectator wants to see me on the course. I'm like, okay, but they're probably going to see you at most 4 times. Right.
Yeah. And that's if they're good at navigating around.
If they're good at navigating around. They understand where they can walk, where they have to take transportation, what the transportation is that's available on that day. And the stars align and the moon is in the right phase.
Yeah, totally.
Versus like the Disneyland one. Yeah, they can, like in the parks, they can only see you on the promenade, but outside the park, you've got like 10 miles.
Right. Yeah.
I love the promenade part in the Disney.
I do too.
That part is so fun.
I do.
But remember, that was the part that the CDE corrals were having such a hard time with because of that neck down with the water tables right before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was hard.
I don't know where that was.
For people. I think some people have trouble because some people might complain if they are a historic Disneyland runner because the original half marathon, you went to Anaheim Stadium and they let you in the stadium and you ran.
They did that this year.
Oh, okay. Well, they did that in 20.
They fixed that. So like when we ran it, we got the grand tour of the parking lot.
Yes.
Yeah. I saw last year they did let them in the stadium.
They had it back for Halloween too. I think it was because that first one when you did Dumbo, there was something going on at Angel Stadium and they couldn't. Like there was like a monster truck event or something. There was something going on, but we did it at Halloween.
I assumed it was
that makes a huge difference.
Yeah,
that makes a huge difference because I don't know. There's the anticipation. That's what I find. The anticipation of, is there a character? Oh, I'm getting to another park.
Yeah.
And when you have the stadium to run around the bases, it's like, oh wow, this is.
It's just cool.
I tend not to look at the maps too closely. I mean, I do, but I don't. And as we were running up, and you see like giant stadiums getting closer and closer and closer. It's like I was like, oh, do we get to run through the stadium? And then we got the tour of the parking lot. I'm like, all right, whatever. Yeah. But it didn't bother me because here I know that like, we've run enough races. Now like the 70.3 Happy Valley is the same problem. They actually finish on, like the 50-yard line of the Penn
State Stadium.
But there's a carpet that you have to run. I mean, it's the red carpet, right? But there's no spectators. Or if there are, they're in the stands, which is so far away. That's
weird.
Right. It is.
Yeah.
But it's because like these stadiums are all protecting the turf. Yeah. It's like I couldn't imagine, here in Philly, I couldn't imagine, the link, allowing like 20
in a football stadium,
20,000 people to run across the field.
No.
Or even at Citizen Bank Park, same thing. Yeah. Like we did a tour several years ago with a club we were in of Citizen Bank Park, and they're like, you can walk on the dirt. Do not walk on the grass.
I mean, I feel like every stadium is like that.
Right,
you're not allowed to go near the grass.
Like,
It
didn't really surprise or faze me when like, hey, here's the stadium. The inside is super secret. You can't see it.
It was fun running through it. Like, because they had an announcer there, and then you could like see yourself on the big screen because they had a camera that you ran by. Like, it was super fun.
That's pretty cool.
That race, I hated that race so much because it was so hot, and I was like, I think I got injured in that race. Like, it was like, ugh, it was horrible.
Yeah, I remember your post-race recap was
oh my God.
It was not favorable. I think you said, and I quote, "never again," and here we are.
Here we are. But we can't have that kind of heat wave 2 years in a row. I mean, right? Like, it's not going to be 100.
Don't jinx that or anything by throwing that out there in the universe.
115 degrees again in September in Anaheim. Hopefully that won't happen. Yeah, it was super hot. But the Anaheim part was cool. Or the stadium part was cool, I mean.
That is cool.
That's one of the things that worry me with these big races is, we're used to we run a lot, but not everyone who does these runs in races a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, knowing how to adjust for the conditions of the day, right? Like if it rains or if it snows or if it's 100 degrees, and like the water tables get a little less well stocked for the further back you go, making decisions on like when to bring extra nutrition, when to bring your own hydration. It's like, well, if it's going to be really hot, you have to expect that like the tables are going to be emptier, as you get towards the back than they normally would.
Are you doing Halloween, Greg? No.
I'm not doing Halloween, no. I'm doing another marathon that weekend. So
don't you live like 10 minutes from there?
No, I live
from Disneyland.
No, it's
California's a big state.
Drive.
Yeah.
It's like
I was gonna say DC, I might bring you
it's DC to Florida.
Florida. Oh my God. Well, I was gonna say that if you were, I was gonna bring you an extra hydration vest just in case it is 100 degrees.
No, I don't need one.
Just for you. Okay.
I was gonna say, Greg.
I practice running without hydration, so I'm.
You train for it. Train for dehydrated running.
I'm well trained. I'm well trained for it. So.
Oh man, you can't bring that up and not tell the story. Come on, I want to hear it.
There is no story.
There's no story. Greg just doesn't hydrate, and we tease him about it.
Hydrate, and they tease me. I do hydrate during the marathon, and I do hydrate when it is hot, but hot is anything over 80 degrees.
All right. Ingesting the sweat that rolls off your upper lip is not hydrating.
Does not count as hydration.
No. That was I do not like to wear Gatorade, though. I mean, I will tell you that.
Oh, yeah.
And like during the marathon, I just
you spilled it on yourself.
I always
came back up.
Well, they overfill the cups. I don't think you need a cup.
No, you're those little cups.
You're
like a third
this much.
Yeah, they're supposed to fill it halfway.
Yeah,
half is too much.
But I actually think that's one of the things that changed in Florida last year when they got rid of volunteers and went to staff.
Yeah,
is like I think a lot of the volunteer groups, like they do runs, they know those things.
They were better,
and now I'm like, but that's how California is too, right? It's not volunteers, and they don't necessarily like know the sport. They're filling and handing out cups, and if you don't know it, you might be like, oh, they want more. It's like, no.
Well, the Gatorade's usually yellow, so it wouldn't like.
It is. It's not bad. It's just you're sticky. I don't like.
Yeah, a little sticky. Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Did you guys ever use the Gatorade gels?
No.
So one year they
used the salt things, but not the Gatorade. Gels.
Yeah.
One year they had them on the Philly Marathon. The Gatorade gels. So they're really viscous. So like really like liquidy. And there is a picture of me crossing the finish line wearing a Gatorade gel. So I was wearing black pants that day. It was very cold. They dry white.
Oh, gross.
Oh.
Yeah, it was not the best look.
You're like, not a framer. I'm not going to keep this photo.
No. That one did not get shared.
No, that's funny.
Yeah.
So you're both running Disneyland.
Yes.
January, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, if they have the
It's like the Disneyland half marathon weekend, I think.
yeah, if
Okay.
they do the one in September next year, you can do it.
They're not going to. They already announced that,
Well, no,
right?
I thought they just said
There's-
Oh, you're right. After
after
2026.
2026. Last I looked, September is still in 2026.
Here they freaking go again, making me sign up for another race. What the
I don't know if
heck?
I will do September. I'm usually gone in September, so, and it's hot. I mean, California's
I would
hot.
like to
The hottest time of the year is
Yeah.
September here. I can't believe they
Really?
I
schedule a
don't
race
know.
for
The
September.
coldest
Yeah.
winter I've ever had was July in San Francisco.
Well, San Francisco, like
That's
the San
different.
Francisco
Yeah.
marathon's in the summer because it's the
Yeah.
only time.
I ran
Might
the
be okay.
I ran the San Francisco Marathon in 2023, I think.
Mhm.
And that's at the end of July or middle of July.
And it's cold.
That's different than Anaheim.
It's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, although
Yeah.
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful marathon.
Is it hilly? I bet it's hilly.
I mean, it's San Francisco. You're not avoiding
Yeah.
It's hilly.
Uh-huh.
but it's not as bad as like you have in your head. It's only like 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the bridge is probably the hardest part because I did it one year.
I loved the bridge.
I loved it.
But that'd be
the
so
bridge is-
cool.
But
Yeah,
the
you
bridge
get
is
up
like
to it.
much more uphill than you thought. And
Yeah.
then you ran, at least I ran underneath the bridge.
Yeah,
Like
it's
we turned around, ran underneath the
I
bridge.
found that to be
Yeah.
I found that to be the hardest part of that marathon
Mm.
was you cross the bridge and I don't know. I started in the second corral that year and the because it was my first marathon like after having the fracture. And I made it to the bridge. The bridge is around like the 10K mark.
Mhm.
And I made it to the bridge. The sun had not really started coming up yet.
Mm.
So I got to see the sunrise over Alcatraz while crossing the bridge, which I had to stop.
That's awesome.
Like it was
That'd be really cool.
It was
That is
so
awesome.
beautiful. It was
Yeah.
so windy, but it was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And there was still like the fog, on the water. So it was like a postcard. But then you get to the other side and there's like you run down to the fort there. And
That's
that
steep.
road is at such an angle that like
Oh.
most people were choosing to walk because it was so steep.
Yeah.
That like
Yeah.
you think I hear people complain about the clovers at Disney and how banked they are.
The banking, yeah.
Like
There's no banking here. It was
those are nothing compared to this. These have to be at like 20 degrees. It's like a NASCAR track in places.
Whew.
Could you imagine?
But it's awesome.
Like your left leg is like 2 feet longer than your right leg going down that. And then you run under, and then you run
back
up.
Yes. Well, I think I'll have to find other races to do in California for a couple years. So Disneyland cancels these. Yeah.
You should do the San Francisco. It's summer, right? I mean, what marathon
and it's in San
is in
Francisco,
July?
And
yeah.
You run past the Ghirardellis down at Fisherman Wharf on the race.
Yeah.
And then there's a Ghirardellis right by the finish.
Nice. And it would be good to do as like a family vacation too, because it's in the summer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the summer in San Francisco is a nice place to go.
It is. It is. And, that race, I would say, was probably one of the most well-managed races I've done.
Mm.
And the day before,
good to know.
I think the day before they had like a 5K, which was like a nice way of kind of getting everyone.
I feel like marathons all do that now.
Yeah.
It's like a thing. They all seem to do that the day before. It's weird.
I ran the Montreal Marathon that same year, which is in like September maybe. And because I did that. That was the weekend after the Atlantic City 70.3. And that one, it was kind of the same thing. It was like chilly. And it's through Montreal, which like is kind of hilly.
Awesome.
But it's not hilly. And it was kind of cold, but it wasn't cold. But the first half of that, like if you do that, like the first half is beautiful because it's all in the city. The second half is like this long out and back along the subway. But it's super spectator friendly because John would get on the subway, goes to the next stop, see me, get on the subway.
Oh, because it's like along the subway line.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's like up and it's like the Broad Street run in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
It's like up and down it's like up and down the subway. There's like a little kind of like lollipopping at the end.
Yeah.
Before the turnaround. But the fun thing on that is like you got 7 miles of net downhill, and then you turn around and you get to do it in reverse.
Oh.
Well, you know, I did all this was in 2019. I did the Las Vegas Marathon, where you run down the strip. So there's a half marathon that's down the strip and back.
Was that the rock and roll one or a different one?
It was, and running down the strip is like running at Disney. It is so much fun.
I can imagine the energy is really high there,
and people wear costumes. There's a lot of Elvises. Down there.
Really? Oh, okay.
I mean,
I was like, really? That's a surprise. Maybe it should have.
It's all no.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
But the half was fun. But then when you got to the long out, the strip is only so long. Then we ran through some warehouse districts and stuff, and I wish I'd only done the half instead of the full.
I feel like a lot of marathons are like that. The Brooklyn, I don't think they do it anymore. I did the Brooklyn Marathon in like 22 maybe. And that one was the same way. Like the first half of it was fabulous. The second half of it was basically an out and back on a highway.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of marathons do that, where like the first half is like an amazing race. And the second half is just like mind-numbingly.
Yeah. So I think there's just lots of places that maybe they don't have to, but it's sort of like there's only so much that's sort of the destination. Like there's only so much Vegas Strip. Like you can.
Well, right. But there's also like the logistics of it, right? You know, you're asking a city to shut down significant parts of it and impact travelers for basically the majority
half the day at least.
We're like, I think a half marathon is much more palatable to say, hey, we're going to shut this down from like 4 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think is more palatable than like, hey, we're going to shut this down from like 4 a.m. to 6 p.m.
And in Las Vegas, I think the race started at 6 or 7 p.m. You ran out. You started at the end of the day. It was a total. It was a totally different concept, right? Like, maybe
it was a night race.
Maybe I don't eat on the course, but I do eat before I run, and so it was weird to be thinking, because I don't want to eat right before I run.
You're like, so when do I eat my last meal?
Do I eat? Do I eat just breakfast and then?
Yeah, because there's nothing as much fun as running with all that sitting in your gut.
You just talked me out of it, Greg, because that's why I hated Boston more than any other reason, is because it didn't start till like 11 or 12. I forget. It started late in the morning, and it just totally threw off the food.
Yeah, but that's different from it in the evening.
Yeah.
Either way, it's like I need to get up and do my thing and run.
Yeah.
Not like
all these.
Yeah.
Then stay out late the night before is what I would suggest, and don't get up to like.
And go to bed and then get up and make it like breakfast.
So,
Exactly.
You remember when Springtime Surprise first came back, right? The courses haven't really changed since Springtime Surprise started. They're with the exception of the 5K, which right now, like every 5K at Disney is the same 5K. But people were complaining that the Tower of Terror 10 miler was originally a night race, and now it's like it starts at the normal Run Disney 5 a.m. time. And I'm like, personally, I hate running at night.
Same.
Because I'm tired. And like you have to eat through the day, and I much prefer doing endurance sports without a belly full of everything I
food.
eat.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So I don't need to haul that around.
Yeah, exactly.
And like,
you control. If you want to eat something, you can eat something in the morning, but not a full meal. I mean, you don't.
Yeah.
Well, some people.
And you're not tired.
Some people in the if you're an F, you might have eaten a full meal by the time you get to the start line.
That's true.
Well, right. Yeah. For some reason, I thought that was like an 11 or 12 p.m.
I can't remember. It wasn't that late. I think the sun was going down on us. But
yeah, because all the pictures you see are of people running through the strip at night.
It's night. It's night by the time you get there, because you run out and then you turn around, and it's dark by the time you run like 3 miles out and then back.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Although I'll be honest, like I never really had a desire to do the rock and roll race out there. It just kind of looked a bit chaotic. But I do want to do the Vegas T100 at some point. I'm like, that looks fun.
What's that? Sorry. Yeah.
So T100 is a competitor to Ironman. So like the Ironman distance is 140.6 miles. Right. The T100 is 100 kilometers. So it's a little bit less.
It's a lot shorter.
It's like an ultra. It's like a double marathon.
Yeah, it's a lot shorter.
It's less than a half Ironman.
Is it all running or is it a triathlon?
No, it's a triathlon.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And like the distances in triathlon space, for those who like are used to the normal like sprint, Olympic, 70.3 and full, it's kind of a strange distance because like the run I think ends up being like 12 kilometers, but apparently it's 12 very good kilometers.
But 12 kilometers at the end, that actually doesn't sound that bad. It would be like more than Olympic half, less, significantly less than a 70 point whatever.
Well, right.
Like, right?
Yeah. Where an Olympic is 10K.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just a little bit more than an Olympic.
Just a little bit more than an Olympic.
Yeah.
That's not so bad.
But it's a much longer bike than an Olympic.
Oh.
So
is the swim as short as an Olympic? Because you could sell me on this, Jill.
The swim is a little bit longer than Olympic, but it's not like super long. I don't know off the top of my head what it is.
Do you swim in a pool then? In Vegas, do you swim in a pool or do you go out to lake out there?
It starts at
Lake Mead or
yeah.
Lake Las Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah. They did one at Miami last year. I don't think they did it this year. I was looking to see if they had that. I was like, I'd sign up for that one because the bike was entirely in the stadium.
Oh my God, like laps?
Yeah. I'm like, that sounds fun. Well, it'd be like it's like, come on, it's a triathlon. It's like NASCAR on bikes.
I want to see you start doing the things that CDE from Peloton does, the track races. I could totally see you doing that. Yeah.
I love her.
I know you love her. I do. I know that.
But that was her gig before she was a Peloton instructor.
I know. Yeah, totally. That's her thing. Yeah.
I got pre-COVID. I was working in Manhattan 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And
did you get to go to some of her races?
Back then, you could like basically just walk in and pick up a bike like any other spin studio. I took so many of her classes live, and that was when we're like all 45 minutes to an hour long. Now they're all like now every
20 minutes. I know,
like 20. I'm like, man, I have to stack like 500 to get my hour bike. Yeah, and it's like. She's from Downingtown, so the same town I live in. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think they lived in the. I don't know.
I thought she was from Pittsburgh. Maybe I'm just confused.
No, she's
from Philly. Yeah,
and she and her husband for the longest time lived in the Lehigh Valley, which is like Allentown, Bethlehem. And I think I saw that they're back in New York now, but I'm like. They're like in this area, so it makes sense. Like there's a velodrome in I think it's Bethlehem. Oh, so it makes sense.
That's maybe why she got introduced to it.
Yeah, it makes sense that they would be in like that area.
Yeah, I've taken one of her classes live, but that was after COVID when you had to like use runDisney registration skills to get in.
Oh no, runDisney registration. Getting a bike a Peloton class these days live is much harder than runDisney registration.
I've done it a few times, but not very recently.
I haven't
in
tried.
New York.
Yeah,
you went to New York and got into that.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, when they were in their old studio, which was much smaller, before the explosion during COVID, you basically could just walk in and get a bike more often than not. In this, they built this big, huge new studio in Hudson Yards. That opens like during COVID.
Yeah, that's where I've been.
Yeah. Now it's not as quaint. It's more like a production studio.
It is definitely like a production studio.
Yeah, this was like it's typical New York. It was in the basement of the building. It had a camera on a track in the ceiling and a couple, kind of mounted on pillars, and it was much more basic. And I don't know.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, it felt like going to any other studio, but with a little bit more professionalism.
Nice.
But yeah. Now we want to open a business here that's kind of like spin for triathletes. So
are you going to make everybody be on rollers? Is that how that's going to work? People bring their bikes and you.
Oh God, we would need, if everybody was on rollers, we would need an ambulance.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah,
for sure.
No.
You would just need to have EMTs right there on site. Yeah.
Think like stationary bikes and Zwift.
Yeah.
Like, take the virtual group ride and make it a virtual group ride in person.
There you go.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. So I think the topic was Disneyland, and we keep getting off topic because
we're off topic.
We talked about it a little.
Yeah, we did.
We've all been to Disneyland.
Right. We've all been to Disney, and, we just don't sit down and talk all that often when we're not at Disney. But it's fun. So did you sign up for all 3 races, Sharon?
For the Disneyland? No, I signed up for Dumbo. Just Dumbo.
I signed up for Dumbo. You should go still. You should go. I'm just telling you. You'll regret it if you don't go.
I know. But now I need to chase down a charity bid.
Yeah, it's easy.
Yeah, but
you can get one.
Well, I'm racing this year on Ironman Foundation, which I need to start fundraising for them. But I did the math, like, for the most part, and it kind of came out the same because like they cover some stuff that like the VIP stuff for the spectators that we'd pay for anyways. But back when I was working corporate, it was easy because you make a charitable donation and the company you work for match it, right? So you only had to make half. Now I'm like, you mean I have to do like actual fundraising now and find people who are willing to part with their own money so I can go do a race? I'm like, that sounds so funny. Versus like when it was the company that I worked for doing it. But yes, I will be soliciting donations for that because I like running for these charities. Although I haven't done Disney on it. John did last year. Yeah, last year. Marathon weekend. He wasn't originally planning to go. It was when we kind of first started being an item, I guess. And he ended up running, I think it was the 10K that year. And then he ran all the princess races, which I thought was hysterical. Like his first real Disney experience was at
Princess. Yeah.
I tried to get him to wear a tutu. I bought him one, brought it down. He had it on. He's like, I can't run in this.
He's like, I'm sorry, this isn't happening.
Right. You just have to do it. I get that.
And then he gets out there and he's like, there's so many guys in dresses. I'm like, right.
I told you, you'd be fine. I'm
like, it's okay. Everybody is letting their inner princess out at Princess Weekend.
Yep. It's okay. It's the Pink Pony Club.
Right. Yeah. And it's in Florida, so it can't
be. It's in Florida. Yeah.
It's in Florida.
There you go.
Right. That's a statement these days. So
but I think we'll miss Disneyland. I mean, like for me, it's nostalgic because it was my first coast to coast. I did the I did the half marathon at Disney World, which I heard about. I didn't have Dopey then even, and I heard about the Goofy, and I was like shocked. I was like, who could run a half marathon followed by a full marathon? Because it was all I could do. I was still at that point in my life where I was learning to run, and it was just unbelievable. And then it took me guys, I didn't go to Disneyland until September of that year. It took me that long to say, I think I can run again. I think I can. And
I can do another one.
I still remember starting because you started over by the Disneyland Hotel way back when. And this
that would be much more convenient than today.
Yes.
Only if you were staying at the Disneyland Hotel.
Exactly. I stayed at some other hotel on the other side. It was really awesome.
That's where I stayed.
You walked right to the start line, and it was super easy. But I remember I wasn't in the A corral. Let's just say that. And this woman ran next to me and was like, there. "You can do it."
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I like about it, though, right? You see what it's like to run in all the corrals, and there's so much difference.
It's all fun.
It's good. Yeah,
that's why so Ashton started noticing this. He's getting older, And he started noticing at Florida, there's like corral envy.
Mm.
And like it's a real thing. And it's a thing because, you know, they got the balloon ladies, but California has the balloon ladies too. And, you know, I think people, you know, they want that experience of like, you know, not being so stressed out about getting swept while still being able to like get the pictures they want. But of course, like the further back you are, the longer the lines are going to be. And even for like, you know, if you're like in A and like, you know, taking your time, like Sharon, you and I experienced this, right? We weren't like hauling, you know, at Springtime Surprise. We were kind of like, it's kind of a fun run. And like the lines got kind of long at some of those. But like for the back of the Packers, you know, what we saw is like 5-minute lines or 3-minute lines. They saw is like 40-minute lines or an hour line.
Yeah.
That blows my mind. When I did that,
I can't even
five,
think about
Yeah.
it. Exactly.
When I walked that 5K from D with my daughter and a couple of my friends, and it was literally like I could not even fathom. Like we saw this, it must have gone through a line for some character went through like 3 countries, like just this huge. I was like, it's going to take those people an hour to get through that line. Like that's crazy.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, people get swept because like they have to choose between the character picture and getting swept. And you know, if you're going to wait an hour in a line for a picture, then like
I always like the run pictures better anyway. The ones that they take of you running. The character pictures aren't even that good.
I do too.
They're dark.
Yeah.
They're always dark or something's wrong.
The lighting isn't great.
Yeah.
You look like crap because you've been running. You know,
like you have Gatorade all over you. You have Gatorade
You're covered in Gatorade and Gatorade goo on your pants, you know, and you're like, hey,
you got white gels on your black pants.
Right.
Hey, now. I will say, I think that the on-course photographers in Florida
are better.
I think
are better.
Even
way
over
better.
The last 2 years, like they have gotten substantially better.
Yeah, the Disneyland ones aren't. They're not as good.
They're less experienced.
Yeah, you don't get nearly as many.
Give them another decade. Oh wait, we're on pause.
Oh, except we're on pause. Yeah.
Right.
Except we're on pause.
Well, that's the thing, you know, like the photographers, you know, they're not used to taking like, I mean, unless they're on the side, like an event photographer or something. You know, they're used to taking portraits, you know, stills in the park. And then they're asked to do these because it's the same people.
It's amazing they can do it. Yeah.
Right. And we're like the ones in Florida, it's the same ones race after race, and they have, you know, 5, you know, opportunities a year because there's also the cast member 5K they do. You know,
5 plus.
So they've got
3 plus 3 or 4 times, right? So it's like up to 15, you know.
Yeah, so they get some practice.
Yeah, but I think you probably get better ones you definitely get better ones of those if you're an earlier crowd too, because there's less people around you.
Oh, yeah.
And so like you'll get like 4 photos from the same angle or the same time because everybody gets you versus if you're back in the back, then they're trying to get 30 people are going across at the same time.
So anyways, back to the thing with Ashton. So we were staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, which haven't stayed there in a while. And that was the first DVC we bought. Anyways, so we're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge, and from the 10-miler, we went back, showered, changed, got breakfast, and then headed out to go to the park. And as we're heading out, people are still flowing in from the race.
Oh yeah.
Right? Because
that always happens. Yeah.
Like for us, it's like it's only 10 miles. Like, come on. And for a lot of people, it's like this is the longest distance they've ever run. And this lady, she's still in her outfit. She's got her bib still on. She, dried sweat on her. And Ashton's got his medal around her neck. And she looks at him and she's like, "What crowd you run in?" And he's like, "A." And she's like, "Lucky." And then like does an about face and walks off. He's 15, so he's like, in that spot where he's partially an adult and partially still a kid, and he's like, WTF, man. But it's like, in the park we've all had that where like someone will be talking to you And then they're like, oh, well, like, how'd you do? I'm like, I did all right. And they're like, what does all right mean? What crowd you? I'm like, A. And that's the end of the conversation. I mean, you had to have expected that.
Yeah. Or they're like, oh, you're so serious, right? You're so serious. This is for fun. And I'm like, yeah, it's for fun, but you're in a corral because you run other races. It's not because
well,
basically
like
not
that
having
whole
fun.
like you don't PR at Disney. It kind of bugs me a bit. It's like I understand the sentiment, but also like there's a lot of people who BQ at Disney. Like a lot of people do.
A couple of our friends,
A couple of our friends, one on purpose and one just because she felt.
Because she's just that fast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, I said to my coach the other day, I'm like, I'd love to run Boston. I said, but I keep being like a couple minutes off of a PQ. And I'm like, I don't know that I have it in me to put the level of focus to like drop triathlon for a season and just be like, let's go BQ. I'm not naturally a fast runner. It takes effort.
Boston's overrated. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah. I looked at doing
Having done it though, you've got that off your bucket list. So
yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I mean, it could be Q, might be Q. Or we could just wait until like the standard drops to what we're capable of running when we're like 85.
So when we're 70, Jill, you and me, we're gonna go run Boston.
You trained more, you'd be faster than me.
Maybe. I don't know.
But
you definitely put a lot more miles on your legs than I do.
I do.
Yeah.
I do. But I mean that's the response to like that kind of comment. It's like, well, my training plan is like 16 plus hours a week. How many hours do you put in?
Yeah. Well, but it's also funny because when you go to the first time I was in a corral was like I guess it was the first time I had put in a proof of time because I had only just started running when I started at Run Disney. So like I was in C or whatever I had put for the first, and the first time I put in a proof of time, I was like, A, what? I'm not that fast. I was like, that puts me in A? Like, okay. Because if you go to like I do Peach, like I do other races that have proof of times, and like I'm not fast enough to be in the front of those races because they have like pros in them. They have people who are running 4-minute miles. Like, okay, I'm not doing that. So it's sort of like, yeah.
I think for last time I looked, I was like just inside the seated. Like if I wanted it, I could get a seated entry at most of the Philly races. But also slow enough that I don't want to. Because I'm like that implies that like you actually need to perform on that day. And I'm like, that's a level of pressure that I don't want.
That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. So the seated is like top 50 or top 100 proof of times or something like that. But it's like, you end up in the same corral with the folks who are going to run a 49-minute 10-miler.
No thanks.
It's like nope,
not me.
That's not me.
Nope. It's okay. Don't do that.
It's like it's not me. I don't even want to.
Yeah.
So
no, not so much. I had the weirdest experience of that 10K I did last weekend because they started a 5K 10 minutes before they started the 10K, and it was the same course.
Oh, that's.
And I was actually. It was weird, and I was actually around. It should have been the other way around, and I was actually racing for time, so I was really trying to run. But these 5K people were like, I'm talking the Disney. If this had been a race that was a Run Disney race, and there had been a Facebook group, it would have been on fire because it was literally like, I'm running and there's like 12 people. There's like a stroller. There's like a dog. I mean, it was like the 5K. It was the back of the 5K that was there when we're trying to run through. It was literally like being in Mario Kart. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to get through people. It was the worst.
It's funny you say that, So I have a love-hate relationship with Facebook. But one of the things I love about it is like anybody can create a group, right?
Yeah.
So as a result, there's a ton of Disney groups and a ton of
tons of them. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I'm in probably 30 or 40 Run Disney groups on Facebook, but there's like 3 or 4 that are really good. Most of them tied to podcasts. But A few of them not, and there's a few like runDisney, celebrities, right? Because they created the group 10 years ago, and so everybody knows them. But the ones around like Princess, especially, the drama that happens in some of them, it's like,
oh my God,
you have both ends. You have people who have done like a million of them, and then you have people who like this is their first one, and like the questions that they're asking are mostly legitimate questions. And then you've got like the folks who've done a million of them, but it's not like your normal Facebook group where like what happens in a normal Facebook group, right? Someone asks a stupid question and the very first and 400th response is use the search function.
Right, yeah.
You don't see that in the runDisney groups.
Not usually.
Instead, you see all of the posts about, either how stupid that person is or how awful runDisney is, right?
Lots of
or
that.
how awful the A Trail runners are or something else.
Yes.
It's like, remember what, 2 years ago when there was when sweeping, you remember sweeping was a bit more lax until about 2 years ago. And it got more serious. And like they used to say, people used to say like on the marathon, once you made it to Hollywood Studios, as long as you kept moving, that you would be allowed to finish. That's no longer the case, right? Now they will sweep you up until mile 26.0, which I personally think is a little unfair.
Yeah, that's a little harsh.
Like when you're in sight of the finish line, like let them finish,
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. But that year after the marathon, there was a lot of comments that were like, Corral F should start before Corral A.
Oh, yeah. And that would kill people.
Yeah, you see it resurface every once in a while, but it's like that's actually dangerous for that to happen.
But that's what happens in the 10K and the 5K too, because there is no proof of time. So you have like 5-year-olds at the A corral of the 10K.
It is.
Yeah.
And Disney, they won't change the 5K. Sometimes you can talk them into changing the 10K. Like Ashton once, he got like C or B or something. And I went up and I'm like, hey, he's expected to be in the top 3 for this race. We need to put him in A. And they did. But, he also had like a lot of, he had proof of time for the half marathon. And they're like, okay, we see it. We'll make it.
Yeah.
But I've also seen them be like, we're not making any changes for the 10K. So like that, that's, I think, more of an exception. But it's like the race you were just describing reminded me of those posts because I'm like, that's exactly the position they put you guys in.
They did. It was
like the pointy end of the 10K is having to go through and around, but more likely over the back end of the 5K.
Of the 5K.
Which is not fair to either groups.
No. I did feel bad. I actually did like hit somebody. I mean, I didn't like knock her over, but I like had, because you do it because you're just trying to dip and dodge. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I mean, it was literally like these people are walking slow 6 across and I'm like busting through. Yeah.
So like that's the flip side of all these runDisney groups existing. And I've seen people get called out by name or bib number who misbehaved on course.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Yeah. I don't know if that's right either.
I saw that about the people who were skipping the course. I saw that drama after marathon weekend that like it was people at the back who were allowed that like the balloon ladies or the sweepers were having them cut the course so that they could finish. And like, who cares? But all these people were like, oh, that's not fair. Like, they're not using it to get into Boston. Like, whatever, they get their medal anyway. Like, let the people finish.
Yeah.
And there's I always look forward to Brian Davis's analysis.
Because he finds all the ones that cut the course. Yeah,
he identifies all the bibs that appear to have cut the course.
Yes,
I know.
They said,
I'm like, does he have a job? Can you imagine how much time that takes?
I know. And as a Club runDisney person, in Platinum, as he refers to them, the mice with benefits. Yes. I give him my bib numbers because we're, in the advanced, the platinum allows you to get into B without proof of time. But I have proof of time, which gets me into A. So I give him my bib number because he's trying to kind of put a lasso around who the platinum people are, trying to analyze like what's the effect that platinum has.
Like who are the slow people in B, basically?
Yeah, like what's the effect that platinum has on the seating? Because I mean, like there's a, I think,
because it would move people from B to C who would otherwise be in B. Yeah.
Or worse, right? I know someone who we mutually know someone who, would qualify probably for D at least in Dopey, but runs from A. And, Club Run Disney gets him in B, right? So it's like, I think there's this general feeling that's not really fact-based, but this general feeling that this platinum group is, causing all these people to not get into B or to get in, not get in the crowd that they think, or causing problems. And the reality is like Club Run Disney is not that big.
No, especially not platinum. That's why nobody can get in.
Big.
Yeah, it's not that big.
Right. It's limited. Yeah, I think he had looked at it the first year it came out and said, it appeared to be like 0.1% of the field.
Yeah, it's not many.
Which feels
not very many.
Feels about right. No. It's like, what's the effect it has? But still, like, you still hear people who are like, oh, those Club Run Disney people, they're not where they belong.
Well, and I also think people don't know. Like people just, you know what I mean? Like they don't know the details. They're like, oh, that bumps you up to what corral, and it bumps everybody. Like people don't do the research.
And that's kind of the downside of the internet, right? Is like, there's people, say what they feel is true, but it may not be, and it gets repeated and repeated.
And there's no fact checking, so reality doesn't exist.
And then it becomes folklore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
We started talking about, how running the half marathon in Anaheim is running through the city and how it's different. And I keep like thinking back to that. And I'm like, it is more like a local race.
Totally.
It is so much like it.
It's like the best local race.
It's the best of both worlds. You get to run through all the Disney parks and then have a local race in Anaheim.
Right. And like the advantage of that is it's so much more spectator friendly. And I don't know what what it was like at Halloween, but when we did Dumbo last year, some of the signs out on the course were awesome.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Right. And the guy dressed up as Mandalorian, like this is supposed to be Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were like sketchy character meets, like random people from Anaheim that put out like like the characters in Times Square that you see that are like shady, like they end up on the side of the room.
Elmo, funny. You saw Elmo on the side
like Elmo's there, like sketchy Elmo,
And the up house, I think there was the house somebody built.
I remember that.
That was I mean, clever. I mean, I think the people that live there are very clever. So.
Well, they're used to it too. Like it's right across the street.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. When we got there, like that was kind of a strange thing for me. So we stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, because it was our first time there, and we're like, all right, we're gonna stay on property because coming from Disney World, and it's like you don't know any different. And went out for a run, and I'm like,
there's nowhere to run.
I'm like, no, there is.
It's like, sketchy.
I'm like,
it's sketchy. Yeah.
See, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel it was that bad.
I didn't like it.
But I've run in Orlando before, which I think is
there you go.
Is sketchy
too. Did you go down to Catella? You ran down Catella Avenue, and you didn't think it was sketchy?
I have no idea, but you could look that up on Strava. Oh, we stayed in Disneyland, and I made like the big square.
Oh, I've done that. It's like a 3-mile loop around the parks.
Yeah, it's like you run around the park. And I'm like, the first time I'm like, wow, it's so small. We're like in Florida, we run an entire marathon.
Yeah, it's so much
on
smaller.
property.
On property.
And there you run like a 5K, and you run completely around.
You've run around the entire thing. Yeah, that's true.
The circumference of the property.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, given that, it's impressive that they get a 10K inside that space.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's even better because they do it by you go through every single land. Like, it's not like you just run through. I mean, you run through everything in Disneyland and California Adventure. Like, you get to go through everything. It's really cool.
There's that backstage section that you're running kind of underneath the monorail line.
Yeah.
And like they have it lit up with like pretty lights and whatnot. But it goes down and then up because like there's a road that is going under.
The tunnel thing.
Yeah, that's like my least favorite part of the races at Disneyland because that's actually quite a steep hill.
Yeah, it is a grade.
And we ran through it on all 3 races, or no, 2 of the 3 races, and both times, I saw the wheelchair guys like stuck on it. Chattanooga 70.3 is next weekend. And it's a redemption race for me because last year that's the one that my chain popped on at like mile 21. The chain broke and I sat there for an hour and a half on the side of the road watching the fast and then the less fast and then the slow people go by.
Did you eventually get it fixed? Did somebody come help you or because why didn't you just leave? Yeah.
It took 90 minutes and the SAG guy eventually made it to me. There had been like, he told me he's like 40 people called this in, but there was like 12 people who needed help changing their tire.
Oh, geez.
And I'm like, as a triathlete, like there's some basic skills you need. Changing your tire is one of them. Changing your inner tube. But you
just rolled me out, Jill. I'm out.
It took him like 3 minutes. It took him like, oh, come on. It's a little practice. It's not that hard. It took him like 3 minutes and I was back on the road. And it's like, if only I had that, like I carry so many tools with me and I'm like.
You didn't have the one to fix your chain.
It never crossed my mind that I would need a chain breaker. And
no.
I'm like, he's like, you really should, he was like, you really should call it. He's like, you're really close to the cutoff at this point.
And like challenge accepted.
And in the back of my head, I'm like, well, if you hadn't taken so damn long to get here, I wouldn't be. And so, I convinced him to take, 2 links out of the chain. He's like, well, you can only use half the cassette. I'm like, that's fine. I only need 2 gears. On this course, I'm like, I only need 2 gears. And I ended up getting it done and I PR'd taking that, 90-minute snooze out. I PR'd my bike and I still got it done in under 6 hours.
That's good.
It was very good. I pissed a few people off on the bike. I pissed a few people off on the run because on the run, I think I ran like.
Well, because you were catching, like you were going catching up. Past a bunch of people.
But you were full of adrenaline too.
At that point,
and you were passing all these people who were like, slower than you. So
at that point, it's the I'm angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like it is like this.
Running with road rage.
Like this past weekend. I don't think I told you guys. Yeah, I did. You probably saw my Facebook post. I did a time trial race. I ended up winning my division by 6 seconds, but I actually won it by about 5 minutes because I made a wrong turn.
Oops.
So I actually did. So this is a classic case of like being in the lead in any race is not always a good thing. I was it was a 2-lap race. It was 28 miles. At the end of the first lap, I was the lead bike. The flagger that was supposed to tell us where the turn wasn't ready for the lead bike. Didn't expect bikes yet. And at that point, I had started like in the middle. It's a time trial, so you start like every 30 seconds apart. And so I had started like, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes back from the lead bike. And I ended up passing them like, probably around like mile 12 or something. And, so I ended up going down like a half mile, 3/4 mile. And I'm like, there should be bikes heading in the opposite direction. And there were no more bikes. And because, this section of the course, is kind of coming into like the start. And there was a second race that was behind us. So there should have still been those bikes coming out. And there was no one. And I turned around, looked back, and nobody was behind me.
Oh
shit. So I turned around. So the rest of the race, was exactly the same as Chattanooga. It was that like rage.
Oh, you're like passing people.
It was like the rage.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like rage cycling.
Yeah. Like they let me down. I'm going to show them. You know what I mean?
Well, and the
Somebody,
girl,
it's not your fault. It's not your fault, though. That's
I mean, it is, because like as the athlete, you're supposed to know the course. But yeah, I agree. I'm like, where was the flag?
Yeah.
Where was the flagger? Where was the signs?
Yeah.
And you know, it's funny because you know the girl that came in second, you know, she and I know each other. She's another triathlon coach, and you know, I said to her, I'm like, did you feel like prey the whole second lap? And she's like, I saw you not make the turn, and I knew that you're going to be hunting me down. And she had on like these like bright, like safety green booties on, so I could actually pick her
Chase the green.
Yeah, I could
pick her
out from a distance because I could see that. And yeah, I'm like, is making progress. And then there'd be a turn. I'm like, where'd she go? Yeah. So that was fun. That was my weekend. So yeah.
You are a competitor, Jill. You're a competitor.
I'm not very competitive.
You are. No, not at all. Maybe you're a hunter. I don't know what you are, but
no, I don't have a competitive bone in my body. I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
Totally not competitive at all.
I finished first. I mean, you know, that's for the people that aren't competitive.
Yeah, we're just talking about.
We're just talking about Disneyland.
Yeah, we're just talking about rage cycling.
Rage cycling. Yes, exactly.
Okay.
I don't know if that was a term, but it is now.
It is now. Yeah. It's like a late onset. It's like a late onset runner or swimmer, right?
Right. There you go. Adult onset.
Adult onset. All
right. So Nancy is sending out a group text. So Nancy, if you listen to the podcast this far, we missed you. We're sorry you weren't able to join.
Oh.
And we're gonna get it figured out for you next time. But prerequisite is you need internet.
Yeah.
Yes, we missed you.
We miss you.
Yeah.
All right. So moral of the story is you guys are doing Disneyland, and you have talked me into tracking down a charity bib.
Do it.
Oh man, another race. But it'll be fun. Hopefully they have a cool, neat medal next year instead of the suitcase that they have.
I hope so. And some good, I hope they have some good swag to buy.
I'll tell you, I was so disappointed last year in that medal. I was like, because they hyped it up. They're like, if you do doping Tempo, you get like this super special medal. And then that's the one they chose to give us. I was like, really? But I mean, it kind of makes sense, but whoever was in charge of approving that shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But anyways,
they have better.
Yeah. I'm like, for a company that's entire business is media, you would think they could do better.
Yeah.
So anyways, thank you guys so much for spending the last hour and 42 minutes with me talking about runDisney, Disney races. We've talked about multiple marathons, and we ventured into triathlon, and we ventured into making fun of me. So that's always a good day, I guess.
Always a good time.
Yes. And Greg made fun of himself, so I didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
But hydrate.
I know my weaknesses. My kryptonite. Hydration's my kryptonite.
Hydrate. All right. So again, thank you very much for coming on. I truly appreciate it. And for our listeners, stay tuned next week for episode 7. Both episodes will come out on Thursdays. We're starting to get onto a cadence of releasing every Thursday. So thank you all, and I'll talk to you later.